finally here. Hi, it's Romania Black, and we are finally on season 3 of Mo Dao Zu Shi, the Donghua, and I'm so excited. I feel like I've come into this fandom at the perfect time. So thank you, WangXian, on Patreon for introducing me to this series, because I feel like I came in at the perfect time. I started this series back in December of 2020. It's been 8 months. I've watched season 1 and season 2. I've seen Mo Dao Zu Shi Q. I started reading the manhwa, the novel and audio drama, and listening to that. And I've gotten up to where season 2 stopped. And so I feel like I'm at a perfect spot to be watching season 3. I'm so excited. But there's so much happening with Mo Dao Zu Shi right now in the fandom. Obviously, thank you, Tencent and WeTV, for putting out English subtitles simultaneously with the episode releases, because that has honestly plagued my mind the last 2 weeks. Ever since it's been getting closer and closer, and we've gotten trailer after trailer of previews, I kept thinking, are they going to simultaneously release the English subtitles with the episodes, or am I going to have to wait an extra couple of weeks? If I had to wait, I was going to and just put out, another reaction to something else, like a one-shot or something. But I'm really glad that they decided to release them simultaneously and that they're recognizing how big the international community is supporting this series. So if you can watch this through WeTV, please do so. They have like a $5.99 a month subscription to watch an episode ahead, which I'm probably going to do. So I encourage you to support them that way. Because of that too, the reaction itself is going to be heavily edited because of copyright, and I want support for the channel. So I'm sure if you watch this, at the same time as the episode and you just mute it, it'll be fine. But it is going to be heavily edited on here so that it's not taken down, hopefully. But simultaneously, I've been following 7Seas on Twitter, and 7Seas has been, they've purchased the licensing of the official English translations of Mo Dao Zu Shi within the last several months, and they're just now getting them out for pre-order, which is amazing. So I've been also looking on Twitter and being like, man, Japan's got a release of the Mo Dao Zu Shi novel. Why don't we have an English one? And we finally do. So that's really exciting. The only thing that's kind of up in the air is what that's going to do to the manhwa audio drama and novel reactions that I've been doing once we get done with season 3. But we'll just put a little pin in that and kind of shove it to the side and say after season 3 is over, we'll worry about that. But no time. We have episode 1. I feel so happy. I finally caught up with the novel and everything's back to where season 2 ended. Summer has gone by very quickly, and on the one hand, I'm sad because I love summer. My workload's a little bit lighter, and there's more time to be outside. But on the other hand, it's finally here, so it's a pick your poison. I'm happy with this. So, oh my gosh, guys, I don't know. I've not watched the OP or ED trailers, and I've not watched the last 2 or 3 trailers that have come out on Twitter, only because I didn't want to be spoiled. So if you've seen my reaction to trailers here on YouTube or on Patreon, those are the only ones I've seen. I have not watched any others outside of the ones that I've reacted to, so I'm so excited. But, okay, I've talked enough. We're going to do this and then talk about the episode. But season 3, y'all, it's the final season. I'm so excited that they have 12 episodes. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm curious to know. Please don't spoil me with novel spoilers, because I will get to it eventually. I'll get to any spoilers afterwards, so please don't spoil me on that. But, oh guys, I'm so ready. So let's do this, shall we? Shall we, y'all? Let's do this. Let's look at old Mo Dao Zu Shi season 3, and we are gonna start this here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. We be back, Mo Dao Zu Shi. We are back. We are back. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me say first of all that I am loving the tone that this season is setting. It's very odd and I'm all for it, but it seems like, because I've had a bunch of people comment watching the trailers, they were saying, because we've had all these WangXian moments, all these moments between WangXian and WuXian, and people being like, are they going to get this past the censors? Are they actually going to do this? And hear me out. I think they are, because, at least I think for a good extent that they are, because I think their strategy was, okay, seasons 1 and season 2, we'll tone things down. We'll tone it down. We won't have any major BL moments because we don't want the censors to get crazy. We'll tone it down and make it very PC, under the radar. And when you read the novel and see the manual, yeah, there are moments that are very romantic and have a lot of text to them, but they're not overtly to the point where I think any other audience watching would be like, why would you have to censor that? That's not a big deal. But I could see why they did for this show based on the circumstances. And so I feel like the first 2 seasons, they played it extremely safe. This season, in this first episode, is already making up for lost time. Just the whole atmosphere surrounding Wuxin and Wangji is totally more open and romantic, and the implications of many things are like, okay, show, did you just get to this final season and be like, screw it, we're doing it? And then, because I'm all for it. I've heard that a lot of people say, I've not watched Heaven's Official Blessing yet. That's going to be after we're done with Mo Dao Zu Shi. I'm going to watch that next. But I've heard a lot of people say that the show is a lot more open with its text. So I'm wondering if because of the success of that show, that this studio was like, sure, we'll get away with it because it's successful and it's going to give us money. So, but the whole tone of their relationship already is so much more similar to the novel and so much more out in the open and expressive that I'm like, okay, show, thank you, I'm here for it. It felt like the attitude and the tone of the novel was suddenly injected into the donghua, and I'm like, I'm glad we're here. There was also a ton of exposition in this episode. Like, granted, we have 12 episodes to wrap this story up, right? And season 2 ends at chapter 28, and there's 113 chapters total. So obviously, which granted, to be fair, a lot of season 1 and season 2, the flashbacks have not been in the novel as of yet. So a lot of those chapters that we have left to go are going to touch base on things we've already talked about in seasons 1 and season 2. So that's good. But they really are like, we got the pace going, which I'm fine with. It didn't feel rushed. It just felt like they explained a lot of stuff really quickly, and I was like trying to watch. So we need to go back and look at that. So I've got the sound off so I can go back and see it. But oh my god, the animation! I love the OP and the ED. The OP and the ED are beautiful. I love them so much. The imagery, everything, especially the OP. I like the OP quite a bit. But the animation is gorgeous. I was so fearful, but they've had like 2 years to work on this, but I was worried that it would be rushed because some other anime that I've watched that have come out have felt a little bit rushed because of COVID and restraints. Not this show. This show's it's on par. It's looking pretty darn good. But, oh man, I wanted the sound to be off, and so I'm trying to get it totally. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. So we got the flashback of them. We basically cut through all of the important things that you needed to know from seasons 1, season 2 pretty accurately. That was a pretty good that's the best recap I think I've watched in a series in a long time. I'm like, it said everything that needed to be said in like a minute. I'm like, awesome, way to go. But yeah, this OP, I'm probably gonna end up talking about it quite a bit, so I'm gonna skip through it. So we backtrack and start with Wuxin and Wangji heading towards Yi City and heading towards the original city and going that way and having this conversation. And I love that something I noted in the last couple of chapters of the novel that I was reading is that Wuxin has a point in the novel where he's like, well, how did you know it was me, Wangji? How did you know it was me? Was it because of Wen Ning? Was it because of this or that? And Wangji keeps saying, well, just think about it. You'll figure it out. And of course, our chaotic gremlin, he is oblivious to all things. He establishes canonically that his memory is not good, which of course he's our unreliable narrator, but Wuxin just can't figure it out. He's like, but how did you know? And Wangji's like, just think about it. And the telltale sign, of course, that we as the audience know is it's the WangXian theme. It's the flute playing. And Wangji's like, no, you'll figure it out. And Wangji's smiling so much in this, being so like, he's just like, and he's just having a little laugh at Wuxin's not getting it, and then he immediately like becomes stern Wangji again when he sees. It's so jarring because all the previews we've had for this season show Wangji being in such a better place and being so happy now that Wuxin's back. in his life and knows that Wanji knows it's him. And then we see that moment where he turns stern, seeing the sword mark on the stone, and it's like, oh yeah, that was what Wanji was like, isn't it? But oh my gosh, so they go to, I forget what the city was called. It wasn't E-City, it was a city before then, to ask about what's going on and ask for knowledge of any strange happenings. And I love that the dove just perches on Wanji's arm. For a second, I thought that Wanji had the power to just summon animals because he's that pure. But no, it was Shishin and Yao solving the mystery of the man-eating castle and leaving Huisang, kind of like what they leave off in the novel with. And I like that Shishin notes that Huisang seems stronger than he was, which if you read the novel, you know that Huisang is really not that weak. Huisang just basically acts weak because he doesn't want to end up following the same fate that his brother did. And so it's like, And so you see him turn around and he has that like content look on his face. It's like, I still don't trust you, Huisang. But Shishin being worried about the culprit and not knowing the intentions of the person who's let the demonic arm loose. And Yao looks concerned as well, which I don't know how to read Yao. We need to go back to that flashback because there's stuff. I feel like one thing Wanji notes in this episode that I think is very true to the entire story of Mo Dao Zu Shi is that you can't judge something based on what you first interact with. First impressions are not total impressions, right? You can't base your entire view on something on the first glance. And that's so true of Wuxin, it's so true of Wanji, it's so true of nearly every character in this show. I mean, with the exception of Chao, because Chao's been pretty straightforward the entire series. But you can't judge something on its first appearance, right? And so this episode, I feel like, is giving us a taste of backstory, but it's certainly not giving us the full picture. It's not giving us the whole picture at all. And there's some contrasting elements in here that are contradicting itself. And so I wanted to go back and review that because it was happening all at once. I was like, wait, what's happening? I love the transition of the letter, watching them fly away and then transitioning to Wanji folding it up. That's so damn good. So good. And Wuxin being like, we need to figure this out so we can prevent a calamity from happening. Because now that I'm back in this world, calamities are probably going to happen. Because as we've established, Wuxin has trouble following him wherever he goes. And the demonic hand's not really reacting to anything, which is interesting. I like they just have it out in the open, and then they see the local sees it and freaks out, because why wouldn't you? I love Wuxin saying, look, Wanji, I'm not looking down on you or anything, but you certainly can't get anything done without me around. Like, that flirting! And Wanji being like, okay, I guess you can gather intel better than me. Like, again, that flirting that's so obvious in this show, I feel like the last 2 seasons, they would have toned it down so much to where Wuxin would have been like, I'm not flirting or denying it. Here, there's no denying it. These two are openly flirting with each other, and Wanji's just soaking it up. And I'm like, okay, Donghua, sure, absolutely. Go for it. And oh my god, their expressions in this episode are everything. I love this so much. And I like Wuxin's strategy is so Wuxin. He's like, we could ask the clans. That seems like a Wanji strategy. Sure, we could ask the clans, but why not ask the local folk instead? Because the local folk are more likely to tell us more than the clan leaders are going to be secretive, and they're going to twist their words and think carefully about what they say. But the people that are just locals, they're just going to talk freely. So let's ask them. It's a very Wuxin strategy. It fits his character to a T. And I like that he's like, the locals like, oh, you're handsome, but you guys are weird. It's like, that's describing our boys. Yes, sir. Oh my god. And then of course Wuxin reminds me a lot of Aladdin, like Disney's Aladdin taking the apple. I was waiting for him to like skirt it along his shoulder and like kick it back to Wanji. I was waiting for that to happen because Wanji is like Princess Jasmine, you know. But no, that's not what happens at all. And then I absolutely love when Wuxin's talking to the local and he's like nudging up to him. He's like, come on, don't you know about any dismembered corpses or anything like that? And we see the perspective of the local. We see the close-up of Wuxin like trying to worm his way in and get intel. And then we slowly pan over to Wanji's face. And that damn smile! It's like the meme of the girl with the solo cup, and she's like, that damn smile. Like, It's just him being so happy that Wuxian's back in his life and that it's actually Wuxian and that he's just, it's the most heartwarming thing and I can't deal with it. This season's gonna emotionally wreck me. I just know it. And then, I like that Wuxian like is eating the apple while this guy's talking to him like it's just casual conversation. And then there goes, and then Apple and Fairy pop in. And I love that Apple just steals the fruit out of Wuxian's hand. It's so good, little Apple. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then, okay, again, talking about the tone shift in this series, talking about it, Fairy shows up and Wuxian gets super sad about, like, gets super scared about it and just jumps on Wangji. And then we have the guy that's sneaking and eavesdropping. And okay, so while Fairy and Little Apple are having their confrontation, Wangji looking down, Wuxian's got like his arms wrapped around Wangji's front. And for a second, I thought, I was like, okay, season 1 and season 2 of this show, what would happen is that Wangji would look down and see Wuxian with his arms wrapped around him and would be like, okay, time to take that off. Let's stop that. No! He just sits there and gently caresses his hand on him. And Wuxian just clutches him tighter and Wanji's like, I feel like my inner thoughts are just random letters. What a show, you freaking tease. Oh my god, I absolutely freaking love this. I love this episode so much already. It's feeding the WangXian fangirl in me. It's feeding so hard. Y'all are giving us a feast, aren't you? And then Baby Ling shows up. And that's where they hear about Ying City. So I'm curious to know about Yi City. I'm curious this guy that was eavesdropping, who he's reporting to. I keep thinking, okay, Sushi is in the background of this whole thing. And I keep forgetting Sushi in this series. The Lan sect member that kind of deserted and formed his own clan or joined another clan. I keep forgetting about Sushi, so I have to keep reminding myself that he's in this. So I'm like, was the guy eavesdropping working for him? How does that work? What's going on? But Yi City, the idea that the city is like a cemetery and building coffins and stuff, like that's creepy. Like the whole place, it looks like a ghost town definitely, and it's so muted, and there's just stuffed trash and like paper dolls and paper and stuff flying through the air. Oh, it's creepy. It has a very ominous vibe. I love the muted tones of it and how ominous it just looks. Without being overtly scary, it's just ominous. And Wuxian noting that there is like a demonic presence there. And Wangji kind of looking at him. And I like that he pulls open his robes to say, look, no, it's gone. The mark and stuff's gone. I'm assuming he's talking about the brand. Or no, he was talking about the curse mark. He was talking about the curse mark that was on him. Gotcha. Oh, for a second I thought he was talking about his brand, and I was like, why does that have anything to do with anything? But he was talking about the curse mark that last season Wangji took off of him. And he showed that it's not on his chest anymore, and he's like, let me show you. Look, Wangji, see, it's not here. And he pulls up the sleeve of his pant leg to show Wangji, and of course Wangji looks down like, keep showing me things. Again, this show. Okay, it was the curse mark. He's like, the curse mark's gone. It's just the presence. And then, again, Wuxian addressing, something's really off about you. In the past, if I did something like that, you'd be telling me to mind my manners and tact. And you'd be going on about proper etiquette, courteousness, and whatnot. And Wanji's just watching him. Lanzan, you've changed. And he doesn't answer him. And then Wuxian's like, okay. Don't mind what I said earlier. Yeah, and see, in the novel, Wuxian has addressed this many times prior to this moment. Wuxian's been like, Lanzan, you've changed. And the reality is, no, he's not changed. He's just being open about his emotions rather than bottling them up inside. And so, and that's why Wangji doesn't answer him. He's like, I've not changed. This is how I've always been. It's like, but the fact that this show is addressing it and had Wuxian even have that conversation to begin with, it's sending me. I absolutely love it. And so then, yeah, of course, Baby Ling shows up because he can't stay out of trouble. And I love that he's like, why are you always hanging around Wangji? And he's like, because I like being around him. And he just like tugs him along. And Wanji's like, I'll just be here. What about you? Why are you following? What about it? He's like, I like being around Wangji. What about it? You seemed happy to see me. And he's like, don't think so highly of yourself. And then, of course, Wangji's like, where are my fellow sect members that you're supposed to be with? And then Ling says we got separated in the city. So the other two land sect members are there. We just don't know where they are. That makes me a little bit worried. Like, are they okay? Because there's all this stuff going down in these corpses. And then he doesn't want to admit that he's close to the land sect members. I love Wuxian's smile, his little gremlin jokester smile that he's like, I know you are. Don't deny it. You're just like me. You're my nephew. It shows. And he's like, why would I want to hang around him? And he's like, oh, you're so stubborn. And Wangji, of course, is like, The thing about the cat corpses is creepy. I don't like that. And I agree with Wuxian. It does sound very similar to the Mo village, that all this stuff is connected, which is crazy to think about, that the stuff from the Mo village that seems forever ago is all connected to what is happening. Okay, so I wanted to go back because we're starting to get into these new characters. We're starting to get into new characters, and I need to know what's happening. So apparently there was an incident that happened a while back. And then they were all led to Liang by cat. Where'd you find the cat corpses? In a cemetery. And it says on the sign, Chang residence. Around 10 years ago, the Chang clan, which resided there, was massacred overnight. So the Chang clan was massacred. Only their clan leader, Chang Ping, who was away at the time, and a few others survived. Later, Chang Ping turned the residence into a cemetery. Which seems kind of suspicious. But when we went to find out what was going on, all the corpses had been dug up. And the grave marks were left in the pits. They were dug up years ago. Someone set evil spirits on the entire Chang clan of Liang. So I wonder if some of those corpses were put into the man-eating castle, maybe? Possibly. That seems like, because we established that years ago they were buying up corpses to put into the castle that weren't from that area. So I wonder if that has something to do with he was supplying bodies to Huisang, maybe? I don't know. So Chang Ping turned the place into a cemetery. Gotcha. Not only were they haunted to death, but someone even brought their dead bodies back from the dead. And so they say demonic cultivators, and then Wuxian coughs like, oh, demonic cultivation again. And he's like, well, who else could have done it? The local state was the Yiling patriarch, but that's impossible because he was already dead. You know. Zhu Yang from Guizhou was the one responsible. So the Chang Ping, so his clan was massacred by this Yang character. Zhu Yang was the one responsible for that. I'm going through this because I'm like, this is where exposition got crazy. So Yang led this massacre on the Ping family, on the Chang family. And we get this contrast of the green demonic flames that were associated with the Yiling patriarch and the red. So demonic cultivation. So is Yang a demonic cultivator then? We are assuming, because there's that green fire. He had a dispute with Chang Qian, and it must have been revenge. So the Yang guy, it's one thing to get revenge, but to harm the old and the young too. He's vicious indeed. So the Yang kid, and he looks younger in this flashback. So the Yang guy presumably is a demonic cultivator, or knows demonic cultivation because of the green flames that we see. And he had a dispute with one of the Chang members, and that's why he went and massacred the village. That is the story that we're given. Okay. And so they asked what the cultivators did. And they're like, do you remember the name? Zhao Qingchen was the one who caught Yang. So Qingchen was sent to catch Yang afterwards. And I don't see... And then so he was sent to catch Yang. And so later Chang Ping recanted his witness against Yang. And Yang was released. That's interesting. So the question is, so Qingchen was sent to go catch Yang. But then once they caught him, the Chang guy went back on his accusations and they let Yang go, which seems weird and suspicious in itself. Chang Ping will suffer the same fate. And it says Yang did poison Qingchen's closest friend and made him blind. Huh. And that's the guy we see later on. But Changping died with both his eyes removed, and they've yet to determine the murderer. Before Changping died, Yang had already been sentenced to death by Yao. So this is interesting too. We need to talk about this. So Yang was sentenced to death by Yao, but in the flashback, Yao defends him. What the hell? Okay. Okay, so Yang's presumably dead. Okay. And the sword that delivered the finishing blow was Jingxin's sword Frost. The one that leaves the bloom mark, like the frost flower. Okay, so this has just got like 1,000 times more complicated than it was. But okay, so I want to get to that flashback too. So we have the corpses showing up and the corpses being activated. And what's scary is that Wuxin can't exactly affect or control the corpses, which means that someone who has got all this energy and is using the corpses is maybe stronger than Wuxin currently in Mo Jianyu's body, which is pretty terrifying. So there's that. Fun times. But he manages to lure them and get them all incapacitated with Wang Ji's help. He says, the person who turned you must be very skilled indeed. Yeah, but when it comes to demonic cultivation, I'm the founder. It's like, whoever turned you is pretty skilled, but I'm the founder of it. So I love that line. That line is amazing. And then Wang Ji basically incapacitates them. And so then they all are Chang clan members, which again is interesting. I love the use of the inquiry of the spiritual Ouija board. So we bring the one Chang member back to do, I love this use of the inquiry as a way of doing a flashback. And so kind of seeing into the past. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. So we are at the Jin clan leader, and oh, Daddy Jin's still alive and well. Okay, so we have the man in the back the man in the back is the Chang member that they inquired from the corpse. And then Yang is tied up. There's Yao. And Yao, here's the thing, Yao looks so small in the flashbacks. Like when you see him now, he's like taller and his hair's all grown out, like Daddy Jin's. And in the flashback, his hair is shorter and he looks just smaller and more demure. But then we have Xingxin and we have the friend, Song or Sing, right? We need to see that. I need to see another name here in a second. But they say Yang, courtesy name Chang Mei. And they say, clan leader Jin, this must be my marital uncle. Yeah. Oh, so did Wuxin never meet Daddy Jin? But he did, though. He's noble and awe-inspiring. All right. And so, okay, so Song Zishin of the Baexiu Temple. So, okay, Song Lan. So Zishin and Xingxin. That won't be confusing at all. I hope I don't get those wrong. So Zishin and Xingxin, they're the two. So Song and I might do Xingxin and Song because that seems easier. So we have those two. So yeah, they're the friends that have apprehended Yang. Okay. Zhu Yang has committed heinous crimes, but why do you repeatedly protect him, clan leader Jin, and risk offending the cultivation world? Doesn't seem like your character. Okay, so the rumors are that So Daddy Jin always wanted the tiger amulet. That was to say, he wanted the tiger amulet so he could control, and perform the demonic arts through it and control all this resentful energy. So he's wanted the tiger amulet this whole time, Daddy Jin has. And they're suggesting that Wuxin destroyed the tiger amulet seemingly, but they think that there are fragments left behind, and they're trying to gather them all up. And so the remaining pieces lie in the hands of the Jin clan. So the Jin clan, of course, would apprehend anything left behind, because we saw in Yao's study, he has Wuxin's sword. So they have all these pieces and fragments of the Yiling Patriarch left behind. And they think that this man is capable of restoring the tiger amulet. And he has that red necklace. Is that piece of stone, I wonder, if that's part of the tiger amulet that Yang has hanging from his neck, if it's a portion of the tiger amulet? Lies and slander. Those are all but lies and slanders. Such accusations. And then the Ni brother. the older Ni brother steps in. So Daddy Jin's like, no, that's all lies. And like, we can trust Daddy Jin. And then the older Ni brother coming in and saying, why are you letting this despicable man live? And he's the clan leader at the time. He's like, clan leader Jin, since he can't do it, I'll sentence him and remove this vermin on behalf of the Jin clan. And he cuts his neck. Like, there's blood. He cuts it. But Yao, Mingzhu, please don't be hasty. Yao keeps him from doing it. So that's interesting. If Yao's trying to defend him in that moment, and I wonder if he's trying to defend him to impress Daddy Jin, if he's doing it to make his father, to get on his father's good side, because it says he ends up sentencing him to death later. But is that a lie too? Did he sentence him to death? Because he seems like he wants to protect him here. He doesn't want him to get hurt. So either out of my way, which is interesting too, because you think that these are supposed to be the three sworn brothers, you know, Jishin, Yao, and Mingzhu. They're the sworn brothers, so you think they'd be all happy with one another, but he's like, get out of my way. So either Yao was just defending Yang there to get on his dad's good side, or he actually didn't want the Ni brother to kill him. So then why sentence him to death later on? Huh. And he's like, Daddy Jin's like, I'll handle this and give a proper explanation. Take him to the dungeon. And I like that Wuxian looks over and sees Yao clutching his arm because where Ni threw him away. Like, that's interesting. I feel like the dynamic between Wuxian and Yao is going to be interesting this season. I feel like it's going to be very interesting because those two characters have not interacted and talked yet at all. But we know that Yao has seen Wuxian in Mo Jianyu's body. He knows Mo Jianyu, so that's going to be interesting. And then they grab Yang and they have him tied up with all these spirit amulets and things, and they walk him past the Ni brother. But then as they go towards Song and Jingxin, he stops at Jingxin, not Song. I thought he stopped at Song, but he stops at Jingxin right in front of him and says, Taoist Zhao, don't forget about me now. We'll meet again. And he gets mad at that. And also, Yang's voice, I'm not gonna lie, the voice actor for Yang, I've heard he's a lot of fan favorites and a lot of people hate him, so I'm like, I see both, because he has kind of like that sensual voice there, like he's teasing Jingxin, but okay. Like there's either some sexual tension or some animosity there, maybe both. I'm just saying. And so then we cut to the massacre so I'm guessing this massacre happened later on. So he escaped and then had the massacre. Huh. Okay, because then the Chang guy gets up against the wall and gets killed. But he gets killed by the frost blade. But that's the blade of the guy that apprehended Yang. So... And I like that we cut back to Wuxian and Wangji just sitting there like, huh. Like how we all feel, right? That's just, what the heck? Okay. All right. So he did die by Frostblade. That's bizarre. So Jingxin was working with Yang, but then apprehended him. The timeline is slightly unclear. So here's the thing. We know Yang was apprehended, sentenced to the dungeon. He somehow got out. We don't know how yet. He got out, but then went and massacred the Chang village, but Jingxin was helping him. But then the Chang leader hired Jingxin to capture him again. And then the witness was recanted and he was released again. So it's just been like a back and forth. Something doesn't make sense. And I like these, like, what do you think, Lanzan? And of course, he says one should not judge before knowing the whole truth. Like that's basically the show being like, all right, audience, we know you're probably confused at this point, but hold off your reservations until after we finish this series, and then you'll be able to make your judgments. Oh my God, yes. And I like that Wuxian says, Jingxin doesn't seem to be a cruel man, which is funny because we encounter him in this series by the end of the episode. but Changping and the locals of Yi City did die by Frost's blade. Their souls were damaged, and we can't go any further with the inquiry. The only few, and Zhao, and supposedly Zhu Yang's dead. What about Jingxin and Song? And so we have the temple that is Song's temple, his family temple. It says that Song Zixin was poisoned by Yang. Oh, and had lost his sight. And Jingxin removed his own eyes and disappeared ever since. So how do you know he removed his own eyes? Like, who saw it and told the people? Oh. And Zixin left to search for Jingxin. Oh, and neither of them responded to evocation. We don't know if they're alive or dead. So we don't know. So we know that Jingxin is alive by the end of this episode because he's the one attacking Wuxin and the others. We don't know about Song, but we know Song has been blinded, poisoned and blinded. So if he's alive, he's blind. So they're both blind. The blind leading the blind. That's interesting. And Yang is supposedly dead. But why did he cut his eyes? 11 years ago. And no one else knows Frost's technique, so... Okay. Sure thing. Sure thing, show. Interesting. And Wuxin, I like that he uses his cultivation powers to kind of date how old the corpses are. And the corpses have been made after Jingxin's incident. So this is all very interesting. Someone in this city is using the tiger amulet. I don't like the idea of the tiger amulet being back. I don't like that at all. No, because that was the thing that got Wuxin killed in the first place. So, nope. Not having it. And then we have the energy that looks like it comes from the tiger amulet show up. I'm like, no, why? Why? And then, of course, Wuxin and Wangji get separated. And then Jingxin appears with the blindfold over his eyes. Ah! Dang it. But then he starts killing the corpses. So he's just killing the corpses left and right. Why? How come? How come, show? Is he just attacking blindly and then he's coughing? And then the corpses give off this green aura like Yang in the massacre earlier. And then, of course, Wuxin puts out an array. Interesting. And then, show, you end it there? How dare you? How dare you? Oh, my God. So, that's episode 1. That was so good. I am so intrigued by Yang, by Jingxin, by Song, by all of these characters that are new in here. I'm so interested in their backstory, how it ties into Yao, to Daddy Jin, to the elderly brother. I noticed that Jixin wasn't there. Wangji's brother was not there during that moment with Yang, so that's interesting, because usually when you see those brothers, they're all together, so that's interesting. Lots of mystery and intrigue, but y'all, the tone, the WangXian, the fact of Wangji smiling and looking happy, Wuxin being a gremlin, it's Mo Dao Zu Shi's back, and I could not be happier. I'm over the moon. So, I'm curious to know what y'all thought of this episode. Oh, buddy, I have a feeling we're in for an awesome ride, and I'm so ready for it. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with episode 2 of season 3 of Mo Dao Zu Shi. Bye.